Call to order the regular board meeting for the Vallecitos Water District this
Microphone?
February, what?
Your microphone.
Turn your microphone on.
February 19th, 5 o'clock p.m. February 19th, regular board meeting, Vallecitos. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're all here. I've asked Director Kirschbaum to lead us in the pledge.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Welcome, staff. Glad you're here, and everyone else. Roll call, please. Directors, please indicate your attendance. We are all present. Thank you for being here. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, sir.
No additions. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular board meeting February 19th, 2025?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Director Hernandez, seconded by Director Boyd Hodgson. Please vote. Okay. Man, we move so fast. Do we have any public speakers?
No, sir.
No public speakers. Consent items. Where's my agenda? Any board members wish to pull an item or any discussion on consent items? If not, may I have a motion to approve consent calendar as presented?
Move to approve.
A motion by Director Lothar,
Second.
seconded by Director Kirschbaum. Please vote. Thank you. Before we go to action item, I did want to note the consent item. I don't want to just a comment on it. There was the metrics in there, and those were awesome. I've never really reviewed those, but thank you for reviewing just the metrics and the OM metrics. So no discussion, just thank you. Kind of a kudo to those who put those together. Moving on to agenda item 2.1, construction contract award, district headquarters roof replacement project.
Yeah, thank you, President PENNOCK. This item has been punted through the budget process several times, but every year during the rains, and this year hasn't been as bad because the rains have kind of held off, but the last couple years with the rains, we've gone with the trash can / bucket system in many of our offices as we have leaks. However, even with those spot repairs that have been going on, every time the roof leaks, there's been damage. And so as we're going through, it's become imperative that actually replacement of the underlayment and tile for the roof has become a priority for a project so it doesn't create further damage. So staff went ahead and moved forward during this year's budget process. The board approved to move forward with the roof replacement. With that, we have our acting O&M manager, Eric Bennett, and Steve Klein, our supervisor in charge of facilities, to present this item.
Welcome both.
Good evening, directors, and thank you for the opportunity to present this important update on the roof replacement project for our operations and administration buildings. I said operations first, just to let you know. As you know, this project is critical to maintaining integrity of our facilities and ensuring safe and functional workspaces for our employees. Today, I'll walk you through the project's background, key issues, and next steps. I'll have to use the clicker. Maybe. There it is. Got it. All right. We'll begin with a brief review of the building's history, including its age, building materials, and the life expectancy of those materials. Then we'll review the previous leaks and repairs that we have had over the past decade. Then we will look at the current leaks we have when it rains. After that, we'll review the project's progress, timeline, which includes the architectural design, releasing an RFP, meeting with contractors, receiving bids, and contractor selection. After that, we will look at the bid results, the selected contractor, the project's budget, and finally we'll seek approval from the board of directors to approve entering into a construction contract with the selected contractor. The district's headquarters were designed in 1995 and completed in 1997. At the time, materials commonly used in commercial construction were selected, including those for the roof. The 47,000 square foot roof consists of a plywood base covered by a felt underlayment, which acts as a sealant and waterproofing and protection. The underlayment typically has a lifespan of 15 to 30 years. So on top of the underlayment are the concrete roofing tiles, and those provide UV protection and shield the roof from debris. And those have an estimated lifespan of 50 to 100 years, the concrete tiles. And while some of these materials are still within their lifespan, others, the felt underlayment, have exceeded their expected lifespan. And the building and the roof are now approaching this 30-year mark, and the roof system is now beginning to fail, making a replacement necessary. Over the past decade, we have dealt with multiple roof leaks requiring repairs to prevent damage to the building. During this time, the district has spent nearly $30,000 on repairs, with more still needed. While we addressed each leak as they occurred, these fixes were only temporary. And today, the issues have become more severe. And the last contractor who worked on the roof warned us that the leaks would continue and a full replacement was necessary. So at that point, a couple years ago, that staff recognized that we need to get this roof finished and put it into the CIP budget. Currently, we have 5 areas of the roof that actively leak during the rain, highlighting only a few. The most severe is the leak near the engineering wing in the entrance by the double doors. Water pools on the slate floor in front of those doors, requiring constant cleanup by Steve's staff here. And the leak is damaging the drywall. It's damaging the paint and the windowsill, and it also creates a significant slip and fall hazard when it does rain. Another leak in the customer service area presents both a slipping risk and a potential electrocution hazard. These ongoing leaks pose safety issue concerns in addition to the financial burden of continued repairs, making it essential to address them as soon as possible. So now we'll discuss the project, our progress on this project. The design phase began in mid-2023, led by MBN Group, and was completed mid-2024. We're now entering the construction phase, we sent out an RFP, which was issued in September of 2024. We held a mandatory pre-bid meeting with contractors in October of 2024, and then opened bids in November. And we eventually selected the contractor in January 2025. Construction is expected to start in March and take 2 to 3 months to complete. Work will be sequenced in 2,000 to 4,000 square foot sections. This includes demolition, repairs as needed, and installation of the new underlayment and tiles. Also, to improve the longevity of the new roof, we are upgrading the underlayment material from felt to an EMA underlayment, which has a 25 to 50-year lifespan. The work plan prioritizes replacing the second roof first, and then followed by a south to north progression on the first floor. The project is expected to be completed by June in 2025, with construction and project management services handled by MBN Group. This includes reviews of submittals, RFIs, change orders, and attending weekly progress meetings, and assisting staff with closing the project out. As mentioned, in November, we opened bids for this project. And as you can see, they're ranging anywhere from near $900,000 to almost $3 million. Yeah. Yes, I feel the same. Because Preeman Roofing was the low bid, we immediately reached out to them. And because they were so much lower, we asked them, can you verify these numbers, because you are much lower than the rest? So Preeman Roofing sent out their foreman and a supervisor. They came, they did a job walk. They ran their numbers again, and they said, yes, we're good. We don't understand why everybody else is so high. And also, on top of that, we reached out via references to the references they gave us, and they've recently done roof projects for the city of Lemon Grove and one of their schools, and another school in South Bay Union. And both of them gave them an 8 out of 10 for performance, for doing the job on time and doing what they say they're going to do with minimal change orders, or a 10 out of 10 because they were happy with the work. So we felt comfortable moving forward with them. As you can see here on the project budget, we have allocated $1,760,000. That was based off of the engineer's estimate during design. And then design, so when we work in the project, the design services cost $21,640. The construction phase services by MBN Group will be $49,970. Prem and Roofing's contract to replace the roof will be $895,837. Staff labor and overhead we're estimating at $20,000, and then adding in the 10% contingency per ordinance 146. All of that brings the estimated project total to $1,077,026, which is quite a hefty estimated budget surplus, so we're really happy about getting the price that we're getting. So what are our next steps? Well, we need to finalize the construction planning. This includes getting the contract to Prem in, getting all things in order, holding the kickoff meeting, getting their schedules and their look-aheads, submittals all in order before we actually get moving. Monitoring safety and compliance, because this is an elevated project. We want to make sure that the contractor's meeting all of our safety standards and following all regulations. We are working with all of our department leads, supervisors, to minimize workplace disruptions. That includes relocating employees as needed, or having employees work from home if they can. We will keep ongoing communication with management, with the board, with staff to ensure that everybody's aware of when the roofing project will be overhead, and to make sure that we can accommodate any needs that they might have. And finally, we need to obtain approval from the board of directors to enter in a construction contract with Prem and Roofing and get this moving. So the roof replacement project is not just about fixing leaks. I'm going to speak a little bit from my asset management background now. It's an investment in the longevity and the safety of our facilities. By proactively addressing these issues now, we're preventing more costly repairs in the future, and more costly repairs and also operational disruptions in the future. So with that, staff recommends the board of directors authorize the general manager to execute a construction agreement with Prem and Roofing in the amount of $895,837 for the district headquarters roof replacement project, subject to provisions of the contract. I want to thank you for your time and support on this initiative, and now we'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you for a thorough presentation. Much appreciated. Question, yeah?
How many square feet of roofing are we replacing?
47,000.
Little over 47,000. 47,000 is our admin building, and there's a little section on the operations building that's gonna be, but it's a minimal little piece.
47,000 plus or minus, huh?
Yeah.
$19 a square foot.
2291. Not a building.
Yes, it is.
I have a question. Thank you for your presentation. So there was a bullet item that said you'll be monitoring safety and making sure that they're complying with our standards. Talk to me a little bit about what that entails. Is that like attending their tailgate meetings, or what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's ensuring that those safety meetings do happen, and ensuring that if they are working in elevated surfaces, that they have the proper ladders, tie-offs for their workers if needed, making sure they're wearing the correct PPE, the boots, the hard hats, the safety vests. Everybody's got their eye protection and hearing protection on. Exactly.
Is that like a daily thing or once a week? How often are you talking about safety with them?
So I'm actually, I've talked to my crew, and I'm gonna rotate somebody to watch. We have some issues with the lobby where we're gonna have one of my guys at the lobby to meet customers, make sure that everybody's safe, they're not dropping stuff off the roof, and that it's clear to go talk to customer service. All those logistics haven't been fully figured out yet on how we're gonna do it, but I've already talked to my crew, so they all know that they're gonna go around and be the eyes. They travel around doing maintenance anyways, so they will sit there and be the eyes and ears and make sure, we're following all the standards.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things I want to add is with the roofing project, with the contractor scope, it's clear. What the board really doesn't see is what staff is doing to keep productivity and safety, not only for our staff members, but also for our customers. So there'll be a lot of coordination that's being orchestrated by Steve and his crew and the supervisors. We're gonna have workstations set up in empty cubicles. We're gonna move people around. We're gonna make sure that there's safety for our customers and access, so we don't have a decrease in level of service during this whole process. And that's a whole nother phase of work that is really not part of this award that staff is doing.
What about the contract for the construction manager? Are they involved in discussions with safety as well, or is that more on the administrative side?
It'll be a little bit of both. We'll be, the contract, the construction management and the PM for it will be in contact with them. So if we find something, we're gonna reach out to him directly saying, hey, we found X, Y, Z, here's the time, date it happened. Then he will reach out to the contractor to make sure that they, you know, tighten up the ship.
Great, thank you.
Are we using an outside contract, construction management?
Yes.
Oh, we are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gotcha. How many's on your crew?
I have a crew, well, for maintenance, I have a crew of 2. But
You're
I do have
efficient.
yes, they're always running around. I do have a buildings and grounds worker who can also help out and
Okay.
cover the warehouse and other duties while those guys are
Okay,
running
so it's a
around.
good, nice, well-run, efficient group of
Yes,
guys.
yes, we are.
Good for you. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Yeah.
Maybe you don't recall off the top of your head, but did we see the designs for this? Did that come before the board?
No, the designs went through, the awards design was within the GM's authority.
Okay.
The board saw the budget item was discussed both from finance committee and at board presentation. And then this is really the first real touch point for the board.
Okay, then you'll have to indulge me for a few minutes. The part of the 47,000 square feet, is it all pitched or is there some flat aspects?
All pitched.
It's all pitched. Has there been any discussion, because I think we have an opportunity here to interject some kind of climate smart building materials or some way to sequester carbon or some way to decrease our carbon footprint. And as we, as a board, are looking more towards improving that, lowering the carbon footprint, sequestering carbon, I think there's an opportunity here to think about those kinds of materials. And the reason why I asked about pitch is that, you know, I was thinking maybe there's a way to put a garden or something up there, you know, something to try to sequester carbon. And the reason why I asked if we had seen the designs was because I wanted an excuse for not raising this earlier in the process. But I just encourage you to think about that. I think, you know, this is exciting and this needs to be done. I mean, I know that you all have been suffering with leaky roofs for a long time, but I just encourage you to think creatively about this and, you know, bring it up and see if we can have some conversations about ways to lower our carbon footprint with all of the real estate that we're now putting down. Thank you.
Thank you. And on that, is this materials as well? I mean, are we replacing tile, or are we trying to
Yes.
utilize the same tile?
Yeah, we are replacing, it's a full tile
It's a
replacement.
full tile replacement.
We had discussed a couple options of reutilizing tile.
Right.
That was taken off. But the thought behind it was, it's been up there 30 years. It's sun-baked, there's possible pits, cracks. And by reusing the tile, you're introducing a weaker fail point for the roof. And if the concrete tiles fail, you know, they crack, they crumble.
Right.
Then that would make the underlayment fail faster.
I mean, look at them. It looks like a lot are in good shape, and I know some are not, but that 900K is including labor and materials.
Correct.
That's pretty, that's some thick tile up there.
I know.
Each one of those has got to be, what, 8, 10 pounds?
Yeah, we pulled one off one time and I was surprised too. I'm like, that's a big tile.
Interesting. So that's full, and there, that's debris removal, everything, taking it
Everything.
away.
That's why we were blown away.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
we're excited.
Okay, no, and I appreciate what's been said by my directors. I know it might be late in the process to do something like that, but that's a lot of tile.
Yep.
Okay, great. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, may I have a motion to, let me actually make it, motion to authorize the general manager to execute a construction agreement with Freeman Roofing in the amount of $895,837 for the district headquarters roof replacement project, subject to provisions of the contract. Do I have a motion?
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Motion by Director Elletharp,
I'll second.
seconded by Director Boyd Hodgson. May we have a vote? Motion passes, all green, 5-0. Thank you. Good job. Looking for that. March, April, May, June, 3 months. Thank you, good job. Moving on to
Don't touch it.
2.2. Adopt the ordinance, or actually, we're going to discuss and adopt, depending on, ordinance number 229, repealing ordinance number 221, establishing the general provisions for conducting the business of the board. Any public speakers?
No, sir.
Okay, you got it.
Yep, so I'm gonna have Jen pull up the page 91 of your board packet and share it with the board, and then we'll move on to some of the edits. So just as a reminder, so this item here is to change language from what we call ordinance 221, business of the board, to the new ordinance, if it's adopted, which is now 229, which will be business of the board. The main driver for this is really twofold. One is to clarify language on what is a per diemable meeting. And the second is to kind of codify what we already started working with the P3 committee on streamlining and matching what we are proposing in the administrative code, which is only the P3 committee has seen at this point. So what staff did is we took the administrative code draft and we utilized that as the foundation for these edits. So this way, if the board were to move forward or even make small amendments to this, that would be just transferred over directly to the future administrative code. There'd be no difference. That being said, today really what we're talking about is just the meetings, what qualifies for a per diemable meeting. If you could go to the draft and go to page 95 and 96, which starts 2.1, section 2, which is district membership. Thank you. So you kind of see what was done. So what Kim did was she went through 7 years of history of the board, 7 or 8 years, I can't remember, of history of what the board typically goes to as far as events and items. And we basically went through in the admin code, the draft admin code, and erased some of the memberships that are, some of them don't actually even exist anymore, and then some of them we just don't attend. That being said, if there's and can you go to the next page too, please?
When was this last done?
The last time we touched this ordinance in any substantial, I don't recall. We touched the ordinance in 2015, but that was just for per diem, to go from 150 to 200.
So this could be older than 10 years.
Yeah, but we did add the U.S. Water Alliance was the only thing that was added, and that was added a few years ago. I don't recall what year, but it was added a few years ago.
Thank you.
So you can see the items that we took off, and they were based on history. And then the items that was added is actually on page 97. What we did is section 2.2, we added, we made some edits to D. So can you go up to the previous page just so we'll go over the whole section? So if you go 2.2, this is per diem compensation. This is for the district. So everything pretty much stayed the same. On B, we just said it's committee meetings, essentially. And go to the next page for D. D, we basically, conference meetings and other function with the district member is listed above in section 2.1 to keep it consistent. We got rid of any language that is more up to interpretation. And then we added E. Additionally, the following district meetings or events are eligible for per diem compensation. So district water academy and or open houses, basically, and open houses. Employee appreciation lunch. All district initiated facility tours. So anytime the board is invited to a district facility tour, that's a per diemable meeting. District special events, which will be labeled special events when inviting the board. One-on-one monthly meetings with the GM, meetings with the general manager or general counsel initiated by the general manager or general counsel, which still leaves open, but it's clear if it's a meeting initiated by the GC or the GM, that's a per diemable meeting and it's business of the board. We're looking at the type of meetings and looking at the history of what the board over the last 3 to 4 years have done per diem. These all fit in, so there will be very little to no difference as far as what meetings are per diemable. But there will be very clear lines of what's eligible without guessing or without even asking, really. So it's at the pleasure of the board. Today, the board has options. You could adopt this as presented by staff. You can make minor amendments, and if the board has a consensus on that, that can be adopted. If there's major amendments, then my recommendation, and it's still up to the board, is to provide direction to staff, and we will bring this back at the next meeting with those comments addressed. So with that, I'll hand it back over to you, President.
Thank you so much. Appreciate Kim and everything that's been going on. Open for discussion, yeah.
The meeting with the city, I don't know where that would fit on any one of these, when the city called and asked us to come and meet with them?
Yeah, so if it's a city-initiated meeting, it would not, but if the GM called to invite you to that meeting, it's a GM-invited meeting.
Okay, there you go. Is that on one of these?
Yes.
Six,
Number
okay,
6.
very good. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Yes.
I would propose to leave in Cal DSAL.
Move
And
back up.
it's on the previous page. Sorry, previous page.
2.2. There you
Yep.
go.
That one. We are one of, as far as I know, we're the only member agency that has a direct line to the DSAL plant. And I have attended a couple of Cal DSAL conferences. I think they're really valuable. I think it's an opportunity for us to learn with a unique perspective. So I would advocate leaving in Cal DSAL rather than stripping it out. I would also, I also have a question. We do things in the community as far as, educational things. Like I've represented the district at schools and award ceremonies and things like that, and I'm not sure where those would fall in here. I've always just thought that they were just sort of community feel-good things, but and if they're not per diemable, then if the board doesn't want that, then I'll go with that. But there is an opportunity for us to do things in the community, like, for example, with Bill Dean's group, and we're all invited every time. We go and we taste water, and, we go there for awards, and we listen to, sometimes the students come here to present their findings from the water studies, and other times we go off-site. So I throw that out for discussion and would like to take a temperature on how my colleagues feel about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Director Boyd Hodgson, that we should add that to the list. We have the San Marcos Chamber of Commerce on our list, so we've said that it's important that we have a relationship with the business community here in San Marcos, but I think it's just as important, if not more important, to maintain a relationship with our educational community. So I would agree and support that we add, like, for example, Palomar College. I don't know if it would make sense to add like a general, any type of educational establishment in the county. There's private schools,
So one of the things that we do have to make sure we do, and Jim Gilpin-Hill may add some more context to this than I have, is we have to make sure it has a nexus to our industry. So, for example, Chamber of Commerce is only, I think, 2 events that the board has elected. However, the board can always add either events as they come up, like the Boys and Girls Club event that the board considers, whether it be expenses and per diem. And for education, for example, Palomar College as a whole education, would be probably a little harder to justify, but the water technology items would be a very clear nexus. So that's why a lot of the community events and everything else, there has to be a very clear nexus, because we're basically using ratepayer money to utilize that for per diem. So you don't want to make it too open, but if there's actually a special event, like, for example, a Palomar College with the water technology, then it can be addressed by the board event by event, because those don't happen all the time.
Thank you.
And we have one of those coming up.
Yeah.
We have one of those coming up. I'm not sure exactly when the date is, but it may have needed to go on this agenda if we were going to approve it, but we do have one coming up.
We do. Unfortunately, it's at the same day as a board meeting, so there's no two
Oh,
board
gotcha.
meetings, so it
Right.
became a moot point, but we would have otherwise, so.
Any more discussion?
I don't know if it makes sense just to add it as they come up, because, like the general manager was saying, we don't have, it's not like every month where we're going to educational events. So I'm curious what, my colleagues think about that as well, if we should just take it one by one, or.
I mean, my temperature on this, it seems like on the next page, it says anything initiated by the GM. So, I mean, if he was to invite us to, hey, there's a educational event focusing on water, we would like some representation from the board. Can one or two or three of you show up? And I think that would, under number 6, meeting with the general manager or, an educational seminar initiated by a general manager's invitation. Would that fall under if the general manager asked a board member to attend a water conference at Palomar College? Would that be considered a?
It would, because it'd be at the direction of the general manager. The nexus you need to create is that you're going to do the business of the district, of the board requires 3 of you to decide that is the business of the board that you want to do. There's the other item here that allows the board to approve items or attending things. If you want to bring back and you think it's important that the board attend something, it allows the board to do that in advance. And you can see the issue that comes up is the board, individual board members aren't the district, and the board has to act collectively through a majority of the board. So that's where the business of the board comes in.
So I have a couple thoughts now that we're discussing it. Number one, so the invitation from the general manager, I feel like that could be taken advantage of. Like, oh, let's get the GM to invite us to this so that we don't have to discuss it. So I think it's better to be a little bit more specific now. The other thing I was thinking about as well is it can be a little bit cumbersome to have to be discussing every event as it comes up. So I think that the water event at Palomar College, I think that we could probably agree as a board now, like, let's just put that on. I mean, that is definitely a nexus to water because it's an event specifically for the water program. So I think anything that we can identify now and just have on our list, then we don't have to be discussing it. And it doesn't have this sort of nebulous quality of, well, the GM invited us, and I just think it's just easier to have everything a little bit more clear ahead of time.
And one point of clarification, that Palomar showcase, they're highlighting this time, they're highlighting the water technology group or program. This is the first time they're highlighting it. Next time they're gonna highlight some other program, and they're gonna go rotation. So it may be a number of years, which I don't know, before that program is highlighted. So it's not an annual thing, because if it was, I would have absolutely put it down.
Interesting. Yep.
I don't think we've had a great number of events that have been brought either from the board or brought to the board to have a vote on. So I don't think it's too outrageous just to leave that as it is. Quite frankly, I think the only one I remember having come a number of times before us is the Boys and Girls Club, and we always, take that on. But beyond that, I can't remember another event that we've talked about that we've either approved or disapproved. But my memory is shot, so.
It is not, Jim, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, strategically speaking, the way this lines up pretty much covers all the normal business of the board that historically the board's had per diem for. But it does clarify so there's less confusion on how that will be laid out. For example, when we do the, and this is really part of my GM report, but when we do the Ed Pedrazi Memorial, it's going to be labeled as a special event.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. As far as special events, I mean, there's an umbrella there.
Yep.
Which might satisfy, I don't know if that would satisfy kind of your concern as far as laying them out specifically. Special events would be that.
Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. You're labeling it as a special event, so that is clearly in our ordinance here, so I like that.
So I think with the special events, and so that basically what I'm hearing is, if we add Cal Desal on there, keep it as is with the special events, we're good with this ordinance? Is that the only other concern?
Well, I wanted to, is this where we talk about increasing the per diem?
Nope.
No, sir, we have to go through a public process for that, so
Okay.
that'll be pushed back until.
Thank you very much.
This is strictly those that qualify for. So my understanding is special events would satisfy your concerns as far as making it more specific. Cal Desal would satisfy one. Any comments?
Yeah, the only thing I'd point out is you dropped the North County Economic Development Corporation. We used to attend, I think it was a monthly breakfast meeting. I haven't attended one in about 8 years.
Yeah.
So it's probably why it got dropped. And I don't have a problem with dropping it, but just wanted to point out that there's a board-appointed representative to that organization, so you need to take that off too.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because all we did is look at the recent history of what the board attended and what the board attends to try and keep it consistent with where the business of the board and the interests of the individual board members have been. But it's at the board's pleasure to add it back or take things off this list. We're just trying to clean up the list.
Do you have a preference either way? I do. No preference here either. So, I mean, depending on that, I mean, we've talked about possibly putting on Cal Desal back on, and with that little minor adjustment, I think we're good, right? So with that, and I know we've talked about discussions, may I have a motion to adopt ordinance 229, repealing ordinance 221, establishing the general provisions for conducting the business of the board, with the one caveat as to adding back in Cal Desal as the only change? Is that, can I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Director
Borders.
Director
I'll second.
Boyd Hodgson,
Thank you.
seconded by Director Kirschbaum. Let's vote. Motion passes. Is that good enough to move, where we don't have to bring it back to the board?
Yeah, absolutely, it's just one added change, and the intent is if you guys wanted to add stuff that, simple, as long as there's a board consensus, or board majority vote, sorry.
All right. So that completes 2.2. Moving on to reports. General Manager.
Yes, my first report, and I'm just gonna check my email, because I'm waiting for an email from Kim Thorner, and I just did get the email. So OMWD considered today to remove fluoridation from their water source. Now, we get water from OMWD that's served mainly through San Leo Pump Station in the San Leo Hills area, and primarily that's the only area that gets it, in Old Creek Ranch area. So OMWD voted today to do it, and actually to remove fluoridation. And I just got an email from Kim, and so they are actually still going through that process. So they didn't make an action on it today. But if they did, or if I get some other information, I'll send the email out to the board letting them know. So, but just so the board's aware, the OMWD is considering not adding fluoride to the water from their treatment plant, which provides some of our water source and primary water source for that zone, which is mainly the San Leo Hills community and Old Creek Ranch community and La Costa. So,
So you're, in your report, yeah, you have a comment on that, or a question?
The other area where we get the rest of our water is our Twin Oaks treatment plant?
no, we get a significant amount of water from our desal, which.
Oh, yes.
And then we also get a significant amount of water from the north that goes into our Twin Oaks Reservoir, actually comes from Elsinore.
Elsinore. Do we have an opportunity to eliminate the fluoride in those two?
Metropolitan does Elsinore, and the CWA does fluoride. We have no say in that. So
Can we request it?
it's already been discussed at those levels, and so.
Well, I guess.
Anything else?
Yes, just a reminder, the Palomar Showcase event is 3/5. Chris will be sending an email with some information when it gets closer to the event. The Ed Pedrazi Water Facility at Twin Oaks, special event for the district. is going to be on 3/20. You're going to get your first information from Chris tomorrow, which is 2/20, a month ahead of time, and then we'll send more details as we get closer. On 3/11, we're going to have our legal legislative committee, which I believe, I forget which directors are on that right now, so.
Is that me?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm shaking
And
my
Dr.
head.
Hernandez, okay.
Oh,
So.
when's that?
3/11. And it's gonna start the BBK legal review process. Board workshop, we're gonna do a board retreat and workshop in April. We're getting the dates. We're gonna meet on Palomar College's campus in one of their meeting rooms to get away from this facility, but still stay within our district. And we're going to have an outside moderator come in and help facilitate that. So we'll go through the agenda as we get closer. I'll provide more details.
Do you have a date for that?
No,
Okay.
but we'll be reaching out to the board for dates on that. It'll be sometime in mid-April, mid to end of April.
All right.
So, and our first board brief, as the board may recall, we're going to be putting out a board brief when we adopt minutes. So from today, the board adopted the minutes from February 5th. We'll be putting out a brief and putting it on social media. And then in the future, we'll be doing that, but our minutes will have timestamped links to our videos so people could actually watch the video if they're interested in an item and go right to the start of that item. So we're still working through that second part of the process, but the board brief we expect to get out in the next couple days through social media, and then we'll also track to see if that drives a little bit more traffic to our board meeting minutes. So that concludes my report.
Thank you for the report, appreciate it. Legal counsel?
I don't really have much. You probably saw the governor yesterday issued a letter in support of the Delta Conveyance Project, so that piece continues to move. Who knows what the earthquake was to cause it, but that's moving forward. Nick and I were talking this last week about kind of for our different clients, these general counsel reports, if there's topics you would like me to cover relative to general education or board issues, ethics, or anything during any of these, you can share that topic with James or with me, and I'm happy to address those things so this is more interesting to you.
Thank you much appreciated. San Diego County Water Authority,
No report.
no reports. And ENCINA wastewater,
Yes, we had our capital committee meeting this morning, and we talked about the tactical plan for 2025. Also the Digester Improvement Project, the Construction Management Service expansion. That project has been going on for 2 years. Again, everyone is blaming the supply chain, and we've increased the time limit by 500 days, so it's supposed to be done by December of this year, and with that, we approved construction management increase. The Energy Resilience Assessment Report, if you don't remember, EPA has put a burden on us relative to our exhaust of our cogeneration system, so we have to redo that. And the linear generator. Thank you so much. The linear generator is a process whereby we add that to the stream. We're able to reduce the cost of our electricity by about, depending upon how you look at it, anywhere from 15 to 20 cents. It would end up being about $1.13 per kilowatt hour, which presently it's $1.25, and so that's a big saving, although it's a big ticket item with a number of off-ramps along the way, so that if we just approved the phase 1, it's on item number 8, the phase 1 award for $1 million, and after that, that will come with a guaranteed maximum rate for the whole process. And so if we don't like it then, we can bail and figure out what else to do. And that was it.
Thank you much, appreciate that.
Quick question on the, what was the capital improvement you were talking about in the beginning, that it's taking so long and you have it 500
Oh, that
days?
was the digester improvement project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some of the electronics, which has apparently been a problem with all the projects. The electronics are just forever taking to get completed, so that was delayed, and everybody realized that we did have a negotiated settlement with the contractor, so we think it was a fair resolve.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just a side note on the ENCINA wastewater, I'm on the Policy and Finance Committee, and we have been reviewing, we have an ad hoc committee regarding benefits, salaries and benefits for ENCINA. So they're going through an extensive review on salaries and benefits to make sure they're in line and providing what is needed there for that to be a kind of a employer of choice, we might say. So I'll give you some updates as those come forward. Any other standing committees? No, been nice and quiet?
Yeah?
Nice. Directors' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. Any? Again, nice. I know we'll, some later on in March, yeah, that coming up. Any other business?
I have a comment.
Yep.
I would like to go on the record that I am very, very concerned that a source where we get our water has taken a move to eliminate fluoride from their water. I have not seen any data to suggest that that's a good idea or a bad idea. As I have explained before, there are very few people that are qualified to make that decision, certainly none of us sitting up here. And I am very concerned that those decisions are being made for us in light of the preponderance of evidence of the benefits of having fluoride in the water. I think it's worth a discussion. I think it's worth a data presentation by someone who knows what they're talking about, and that's not any of us. It may not even be either of you, but if we want to bring somebody in to address that and talk about that, I'm willing to entertain that discussion. But it's absurd to think that we would make a decision like that for our constituents in absence of data, and I'm very uncomfortable that OMWD has made that decision since they supply water to my house and other constituents as well. I think that is, I'm without words that has occurred. I don't know of any pharmacologists on that board, and I don't know of any doctors on that board.
And just to clarify, OMWD is considering it. Kim's email said their direction tonight was for them to move forward to seek state funding before they make a decision. So I'm assuming the state funding is to continue or upgrade the fluoridation system. So if they get funding, they may move forward. If they don't get funding, then they'll probably consider the alternative. But they have not made a decision at this moment.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. You said that they made the decision to eliminate fluoride. So is that not the case? I want to make sure I'm understanding.
Yeah, they were considering it tonight, but they did not make the decision. They made the decision to go seek funding, and then they'll come back at a later point to make a decision. But it's definitely something they're considering.
Funding for
the fluoridation system, whether it needs upgrading or continuation. So yeah, they have not taken any action.
They haven't taken any action. It's still under consideration by the
Okay.
board. And since we're in director comments and stuff, we can't take any action, but if you want to take future action, this board hasn't taken any action on this item. We just purchased, they supply some of our water to us, so we'd have to find an alternative source would be the only action you could take in response to that, other than sending a message to them that you don't support it. So
understood. Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify, I've got a question. Are they just talking about their treatment facility at the district? They also get other water from the water authority that's fluoridated.
They're only talking about their treatment facility, and and at this point, the direction they got was to seek funding for continued fluoridation, and then they'll come back and reconsider.
Have they taken into account their other sources of fluoridated water?
Yeah, I think it's just the cost issue and seeking funding, but, obviously I wasn't at the meeting, so I'll talk with the general manager and get more detail on that for the future.
Really appreciate it, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from Director Boyd Hudson? Anything else? Director Eller? No. Director Hernandez, any other comments? Nothing? I have one, as we talked about per diem a little bit. I know last board meeting, we approved to start the process, to go through a public process to increase our per diem. Bless you.
Thank you.
My understanding is there is cost associated with bringing this to fruition as far as public announcement and everything else.
Yeah, we have to advertise for 2 consecutive weeks in basically a media source like the UT, a daily transcript, basically the action the board's taking, some information, and then the board, there's a public hearing that we prepare for, and then if the board decides to move forward, there's a 60-day period, 60-day period before it can be implemented. So it's like a rate hearing.
So it's like a rate hearing. I mean, there's a process. I don't know, I don't want to put the brakes on it, but I wanted to see if there's an appetite for a future agenda item to put the brakes on that, or at least to discuss if we're at the point where we want to really do that at this point when we're talking about a 218 possibly coming up. And, I just didn't know if there was appetite on the board to proceed to go through the process that we voted on a week ago, or if we could
Well, I can
bring
tell
it
you,
up to stop that process and bring it up at a later time.
so staff is at this point, based on the previous vote of the board, planning on advertising this Sunday, and then consecutive to make it to the second meeting in the 15th. If there's appetite on the board, staff could hold off, it would just push it back, it may push it back 1 meeting. That's really what we're looking at, but at this point, we have not advertised it. We're preparing the advertisement this week and probably advertising it this week, next week, or next week and the week after, next week and the week after.
Okay. So again, this is a comment yet possible future agenda item, and I just want to kind of use your words, get the temperature of the board. Is there any temperature as to, yeah, maybe we can do this later, or no, let's proceed?
No, I'd like to continue.
Okay, that's your temperature, okay? Or if
Well,
I have,
I think
I mean, I would like to.
what you really need to do is
Do a
just see if
motion.
there's a second
Okay,
to
so I
bring
would
this
like a
back in the
motion.
future. Well, just see if
Okay.
there's a second director that wants to bring this back at the next meeting
For discussion.
for discussion of this. It would be an action to rescind the prior approval
So I'm
or
one director.
prior direction to, so
All
you
right.
need just one other person, and you can add it to that future agenda.
So is there a second to bring that to a future agenda item? A second board member?
Yeah.
You'll
Okay.
second?
With that, the staff won't advertise this Sunday.
Well, let's see if it passed.
No, you can't vote on it today. We have to.
No, I thought we're voting on his,
No, there's no agenda item today on this. He's putting it on a future agenda
right,
to
right, and that's-
reconsider it,
that-
which
That's
would
what we
be,
were going to vote on.
Yes.
Yeah,
which would be at the next meeting, so,
voting on it the next meeting?
Yes.
So the next meeting, staff will bring forward to gauge the temperature of the board, basically, to see whether this board wants to move forward with a public hearing for a per diem increase or not. And based on that,
Gotcha.
staff will either advertise right away or not advertise.
All right.
So we
But-
got a first and a second from
Well,
Director.
well, wait,
Lopez
hold on,
to
hold
talk about
on.
it.
We are way out of procedure here. We brought this forward, we voted on it. In order for us to go back on a vote that we've already taken, it seems to me that it needs to come back before the board.
It does.
As an agenda item. I'm not sure we can make that decision to postpone this because we've already voted on it.
well, you're not postponing anything. You gave staff the direction to move forward with scheduling a hearing. The request tonight is to add an agenda item to reconsider that at the next board meeting. So,
To reconsider.
Yeah.
Well, I thought General Manager Gumpel said that he's gonna not advertise though, based on the discussion tonight.
Yeah, and I can still move forward and advertise. That's not a big deal. We're preparing the advertisement, and we're preparing an advertisement for next week to advertise and make the 15th meeting. So staff can move forward and advertise, which is fine, because that was the board's direction.
well, you can't get direction here on
No,
whether to move
no.
forward or not.
The
The
previous
question is whether the board wants to put an item on a future agenda, and you gauge your actions accordingly, so.
So do you still stand by a second to put that on a future agenda item? That was a hearty yes. So, I mean, is there any, I mean, is that something that we're legally we're able to do and
You just put it on the future agenda.
future to reconsider?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put it on the next.
And with the first and the
next
second, we can
meeting.
do that. Okay. So, future agenda item for reconsideration. Thank you. Any other comments, discussions, business of the board? If not, this meeting is adjourned.